Hi, welcome. I'm here today talking to the high achievers, the big dreamers, the people who want to see more for themselves and for the world, to the tender but tough, to the people well acquainted with performance and the shame that can come when you don't perform the way that you wanted to or the way that others expected you to. I am talking to me today, and I am also talking to you. Thank you for being here.
My name is Catherine Hubert. I am 36 years old. I currently live in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm a small business owner. That's a really big part of my life and my story and my time these days. I have a restaurant called Chez, Genèse, downtown Greensboro. We're a French-inspired cafe. Been open a little over 6 years. We are on a path to change the way that our world views and employs people with disabilities. We have an integrated hiring model, which means that 50% of our team is disabled and 50% is non-disabled. I've lived in 4 places in my life: Southern California, Boone, North Carolina, the Burgundy region of France, and now Greensboro. I am currently into anything that sparkles or makes rainbows and prisms in my house, including sparkly nails and sparkly shoes. I am really into exercising and moving my body in ways that are enjoyable and feel good. So some days that's swimming, sometimes it's yoga, sometimes it's running, a lot of days it's walking. I'm trying a jiu-jitsu class tomorrow. So that's been a fun thing. And I'm also, what else am I into now? I'm distracted. Romance novels and what else? Oh, and listening to Fleetwood Mac, particularly their Rumors album.
Okay, Insecurity Corner. I've truly been thinking over the insecurities that I wanted to share and kept downgrading them so that it could feel more comfortable. And it's like that kind of defeats the purpose of having this corner in the first place. So the thing that I've been most insecure about this week has been dating, which comes and goes, the insecurity piece and the dating piece. But I think especially because it's the beginning of the year and it's like, what do I want for this year? What are my relationship goals? How do I want to see myself grow? Then I just tend to really overthink it. And so that's the space I've been in this past week, where it's like, well, maybe I'll message this person. Maybe I'll ask this person out. Well, maybe I'll do this. Well, should I try online dating again? No, I know I hate that. Well, then I have to go out in public and meet people. I don't know if I want to do that. So anyways, lots of insecurity around that and lots of overthinking. Hoping to get out of my own way here soon and actually reach for some of the goals that I have.
So this video today, it's gonna go in tandem with the video from last week. It doesn't really matter, to be honest, which one you watch first. So if you missed the video from last week, you don't have to go back and see that one first. You can go back and watch it later if you want to. But today, talking about what it feels like and how to hold the feeling of not being enough, which if you already watched the video from last week, you're like, weren't we just talking about being too much? So how did we go from being too much to not being enough in the span of a week? But if you're at all like me, then I think you will understand the connection between the two. And if you don't, then I'm going to break it down for you. But I oscillate between those two things quite regularly, and for me, this wasn't actually the video that I was planning to do today. I was planning to talk about something else, and then I realized, like, no, I actually have swung back from being too much to the not being enough. And because that's such a regular part of my internal swing and rhythm, I thought, let's go ahead and talk about it while we're here. Even though those two things may feel like they're opposites, there are a lot of common threads and themes between them. And one distinction in particular that I've learned and found in more recent years about myself is that when I'm saying I feel like I'm too much, then that has a lot to do with my feelings are too big, I have too many opinions, I am too intense, I am too existential, I'm too whatever fill in the blank may be. That has to do more with the core of who I am on the inside. And that also is where the I'm not enough fear stems from as well. The feeling that I'm not worthy enough, I'm not capable enough. So more of this tends to be more of the how my inner self translates and manifests into the world, and that being too much for people. And then on the same hand, feeling like, well, deep down inside, I think maybe I'm actually just not enough. I'm not worthy enough. I am not good enough. And that feeling of unworthiness tends to then come outward in more of a performance-based cycle for me. So that's where a lot of my high achieving, high performance, competitive, I'm going to be the best, I'm going to be excellent at everything I do, I'm going to work the hardest, be the person who's there first, who's last out, who's like, I can get very focused on my external output and what I'm contributing or bringing into the world, into my family, into my relationships, into my work, into my athleticism or exercise goals, like whatever it is, like, okay, we're going to go ahead and try to get to the top. And I think there's a lot of different reasons for why that could be, and I don't need to psychoanalyze all of them here in the course of this video, but a few that I think really stand out or are, well, if I'm not wanted for who I am, then I can at least be useful for what I provide, for what I do for other people. And I think as I've grown in my awareness of those patterns for myself and also in my ability to just like and appreciate myself for who I am, I feel like I've been able to pull away from those narratives so much in my life. But then that's hard because like, well, now I've already become known for the person who's good at what I do, who tries really hard and who shows up, who's reliable, who's dependable, who follows through on what she says. And those are things that hold value for me. And also I can be the one to then accidentally reinforce some of those beliefs that I have about myself and keep myself in that trap of, well, I have to be the one who works the hardest. I have to be the one who's excellent in this, because if I'm not, now that's what people expect of me, and it feels like I'm letting people down. So how does this translate into my work currently, and what can we take away from this? As a business owner, I think I can really easily get caught in the trap of not only am I working for myself, I'm also working for a team of people. And I recognize that I have a team of people who's also working for me. And that's part of where that feeling of responsibility, because I am responsible, comes into play. And I go through ebbs and flows and cycles of really feeling like I'm not providing enough for my team. I'm not paying my team enough. I'm not able to offer all of the benefits or the quality of life that I want to be able to offer my team. And we're somewhat uniquely poised as a business in the sense that we're pushing against two cultural norms. One is that people in the service industry, by and large, are treated like shit in American culture. Low pay, low quality of life. The service industry as a whole is a like really fun and unique and hard and terrible work environment to be in. Like, there's a lot of things that I love about it, and there's a lot of things that are very dysfunctional and hard about it too. And also then you're pushing against societal expectations of what it costs to go out to eat, what it costs to pay for lodging, what it costs for any service that you may pay for. You're so used to having it be one way that it's hard to kind of push against that. And then we're also trying to change the way that businesses hire and employ people with disabilities. And so there's a lot of like breaking down barriers and changing things in that regard too. And so I chose to do both of them. And there was a lot that I knew about both of those things going into it. And there was also a lot that I didn't know about it. And so there are things that I have definitely fucked up over the years and things that I've gotten wrong and then realized like, oh, I was totally ignorant about that and I didn't know. Now you're trying to change it and you're trying to do something differently. And then there's a lot of shame that comes with that. And then realizing like, okay, well, this was written into my business model. If I want to change it, then I'm having to change the way that I do business. But then again, that goes back to people's expectations of things. You're trying to shift to that. And so it's just a long and a hard process, and it's definitely one of the things that keeps me up at night, and it's one of the things that I've been feeling over this past week. I think probably in conjunction with the year turning over and looking at what are the goals that I have for this year? How do I want to raise people's pay this year? How do I want to change the way that my quality of life is, or add to the quality of life that I have and add to the quality of life of my team. Like what's important to them, what's important to me. I'm never going to get there like the living wage, which I feel like we've just been chasing the entire time. We've been a business because we're non-tipping, and we want to provide a really fair wage to our team and have that not be something that they're dependent on the generosity of someone else, but that it's just written into their job, like what they get paid. But then the living wage, not everybody on my team is at a living wage. Part of that is because most of my people are very part-time and want to be very part-time. Part of it's because you can only charge so much for an omelet. There's a lot of different factors that go into that, but we've been chasing that as like trying to be the median and the, you know, kind of the baseline of where we're at, but it just jumped another $3.50. So it's like, we were just like caught up and now we're behind again. And then it's like, oh my God. And it's like, okay, well now how do you do this? And anyways, all of that just feeling like, man, maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I'm not equipped to do this. Like maybe I just messed it up too much in the beginning to make it right. Like, am I ever going to get caught up? Am I ever going to feel like I get to the place that I want for myself, for my team? How do we enjoy actually where we are and celebrate the wins that we have? And like all of that gets so closely tied to who I am as a person and then what I'm putting out in the world, kind of leader that I want to be. And it just feels really messy. And I don't know the easy out for that, because part of it, I think, is that I think I'm always going to be the person who pushes for more, who sees the potential, who wants to change things, who wants to make something better. And so I don't know that really ever I'll get to a place in my life where I feel like I'm just totally content with where things are at. And also I want to practice being present and practice living in the life that I'm in and not always being somewhere else in my head. Now I feel like I'm turning it back to you as the audience. So as you, as a if you're watching this and you're also someone who's high achieving, who oscillates between I'm too much and I'm not enough, being like, how do you manage it in your life? I was going to try to come on with all these tips of how we could do it differently. And I just realistically don't know that that's actually the place that I'm in. I think this is probably a video more of relatability. Like if you're in the same place, I'm in that place with you, and, you know, T's and P's over us. In all of that, I think hope is baked into my core. And I think that's where a lot of these things are rooted in, is that I hope for something better. I hope for more freedom for me. I hope for more freedom for you. I hope for a world where all people are accepted, where they belong, where people who've been on the fringes and in the margins get to be brought into the center, for people who have been hogging the center to not move to the fringes, but to have their, you know, have power and rights be equally distributed. And so I'm always going to fight for that, knowing that I'm probably not going to live to see the world that I actually want to see, but that I'm going to give my life to push for it anyways. And want to acknowledge, as we close this out today, bringing it home, that holding that hope is hard, and that we oftentimes will find our place in that tension of, am I here or am I here? Am I this or am I that? Am I too much or am I not enough? And that place of hope can be exhausting, but finding others, which is the reason that I'm still making these videos and the reason that I'm still on here, is seeking out that camaraderie and that community and that place to find others who feel the same way, so that we can strengthen, hold each other's hands, cheer each other on, so that we don't feel alone in that exhausting and also glorious place of holding hope for something more. Okay, I think that's it. Thanks for being here. I'm excited to have you. I'm excited for what this year holds in terms of us being able to grow together through this little corner of the internet. And I will see you probably not next week. I'll see you in a couple weeks when I have something else to say. Chez, Genèse, teammates, your keyword this week in honor of how cold it is outside. It's frozen. Welcome to today's brain break, where we take a pause from looking at my face and also from thinking deep thoughts. The past couple of weeks have been busy with getting into the swing of the new year, with sitting down, going over how last year wrapped up, and then some of the plans, and also just organization that needs to happen in order to move into the new year, prepping for tax season, etc. And then on a fun note, it's my goal. I did this goal last year and I've carried it on this year, but to do one new thing a month. And my new thing for this month was going to a hockey game with my dad for his birthday. Just kidding. The two things we can do to help ourselves with that are, number one, being kind to ourselves, letting our internal narrative and the words that we speak to ourselves, inside and outside, be kind and patient, practicing speaking to ourselves the way that we would speak to a close friend, someone that we love. And then the second thing that's been really helpful is surrounding myself with people who enjoy me and like me for who I am, who are not looking for me to perform or to be just useful to them, but who just enjoy being with me. Those two things have been really helpful in rewriting some of that belief that I am not enough or that my worthiness is tied to my performance.